Proof of China's growing assertion was seen in November 2022 when the CCG, China Coast Guard, interfered in the retrieval of space debris which fell within the Pagasa Islands territorial sea near Pagasa Clay 1. Ayun po yung larawan, Mr. President. Clay 1 is just 1.9 nautical miles from the Pagasa Islands, manned by our gallant officers from the Army, the Air Force, the Navy. They are also here in this plenary hall, Mr. President. Philippine personnel initially detected the space debris some 800 yards west of the main station of Pagasa 1. A Philippine team was dispatched to retrieve the debris which drifted near Pagasa Clay 1 and was in the process of towing the remains. Ayun po yung litrato, Mr. President, of a rocket when a boat from China Coast Guard 5205 swiftly and deliberately interfered. The China boat came within 20 to 30 yards of the Philippine rubber boat and forcibly cut the towing line of the space debris. Pinutol po nila yung lubid. Nakikita po natin, Mr. President. I'd like to show this video. It has never been seen before. It has never been seen even in television, in news, Mr. President. Can we enlarge and have the audio? Ayan po yun, Mr. President.
Place the audio. We'll have them put the audio. I've seen that video. It's very important that the audio is on.
Can we have the audio?
Yes, I would like to let our colleagues know. I think this is the first time we're viewing this video.
Nakikita po natin, Mr. President.
Sir,
Hila po ng hila po sa likod yung debris.
How? What are you doing? I asked for not earlier. You didn't give the not.
So this is an actual footage, Mr. President, of that incident last month, Mr. President. The China boat, as I've said, came within 20 to 30 yards of the Philippine rubber boat and forcibly cut the towing line of the space debris.
Nila yung tali.
See how dangerous
Pinawi nila
the
ulit.
incident was, Mr. President. Baka rubber boat lang po tayo. Ang lalaki ng kanilang mga
Kawawa yung mga tao natin.
Mr. President, Chinese diplomats denied that the incident occurred. They denied that the incident occurred, claiming that a friendly consultation took place. But the footage and reports clearly show that CCG assertively took the debris in the area well within the Philippine territory. The Department of Foreign Affairs, again, some officials are here, issued a note verbal to China to clarify the matter as the incident was highly provocative. These actions, along with the other gray zone activities, are slowly but surely eroding Philippine sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea and harming the country's strategic position. Mr. President, yan po ay isang larawan ng space debris. Mr. President, my colleagues, this is not the first time that Chinese rocket debris has fallen within Philippine territory or territorial waters. On October 6 and November 7 this year, similar rocket debris were recovered in Calintaan, Occidental Mindoro, and Busuanga, Palawan. Even earlier, Mr. President, in July 2022, Chinese rocket debris was also recovered off Occidental Mindoro. This debris, as shown in the picture, fell in Philippine archipelagic waters of Palawan and Mindoro Occidental and within the Pagasa Islands territorial sea, where Clay 1 is located. Significantly, the Chinese Coast Guard retrieval of the debris of Clay 1 is a gross violation of Philippine sovereignty, as Beijing has no jurisdiction over Philippine territorial sea. Further, CCG's interference in the retrieval also violated the right of innocent passage under the 1982 UNCLOS, yet another incident in a long and sustained record of repeated violations of international law. Lastly, China's actions demonstrate that Beijing does not recognize the 2016 arbitral award which establishes a 12 nautical mile territorial sea in the Pag-asa Islands. The rocket debris retrieved bear the markings of China's Long March 5B rocket. I'm showing the picture right now. Incontrovertible proof of the provenance of the remains recovered in Occidental Mindoro, Palawan, and in the Pag-asa Islands. China acceded to the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, and Beijing must request the return of space debris which fall in the territory of other states, like the Philippines, like Pag-asa Islands in the Philippine case, rather than merely seizing the same. These repeated violations, Mr. Senate President, my dear colleagues, is a breach of Philippine territorial integrity, and the irresponsible rocket launches are scattering debris that can threaten Filipinos who are plying the West Philippine Sea and our archipelagic waters. These incidents cannot be allowed to continue, as they not only can potentially harm Filipino fishermen, but the Chinese Coast Guard actions also violate Philippine maritime rights as enshrined in the UNCLOS and the arbitral ruling award, Mr. President. In this, Mr. Senate President, my dear colleagues, we are on the right side of international law. And gross violations like this cannot be allowed and should not be allowed to continue. Before I end this speech, Mr. President, let me stress that it is high time that the government prioritizes South China Sea, West Philippine Sea, as the Philippines has become the laggard among the claimants. A status that threatens not only the country's sovereignty, but also the livelihoods of thousands of Filipino fishermen and the nation's energy and food security. With one strident voice, Mr. President, let us continue to denounce the brazen intrusions into our maritime territory and do all within our power to assert our rights. The rule of law is behind us with the 2016 arbitral ruling. Let us continue to strengthen and solidify our strategic alliances towards this end. For at the end of the day, Mr. President, this is not a fight not only for territory, the environment, and for invaluable resources. It is about taking a stand against oppression, which is sadly increasing in many parts of the world. Mr. President, we shall not surrender quietly to an invasion of our free and democratic nation. Salamat po, Mr. President.
How else can we help fisher folks, families and communities who live in coastal areas? And the video that was shown by the good gentleman from Cavite has clearly shown how inferior we are in terms of equipment, a rubber boat, as compared to the boats that were featured in that video. May this representation, Mr. President, know from the good senator from Cavite, as a national security administrator myself, how else can we help the Philippine Navy, the fisher folks, not just in Palawan, in all coastal areas, and every Filipino living today and in the future, because, as you yourself has said, the effective implementation of the Hague ruling is our duty, and it is the least we could do for the next generation of Filipinos. Back to my question, Mr. President, may I know, as an Air Force officer and someone who loves our country deeply, may I know how else can we help the Navy? How else can we help our country? Aside from the note verbal, aside from privileged speeches, ano pa po ang kailangan natin gawin para tigilan ng ating kaibigan na malaking bansa sa Asia ang kanilang pang-aabuso at hindi pagsunod sa isang maliwanag na ruling na dapat nilang respetuhin. Bawal ang bully sa mundo. Mr. President.
President, I'm aware that the other side is listening, but
I want them to hear it. That's
But
why
Mr.
I am making
Mr.
my voice
President-
loud and clear.
Mr. President,
I'm not saying it was a bully. Bawal ang bully. Kung sino ang matamaan, silang masaktan.
I would like to suggest that if we are going to make our sense of the Senate expressing our disgust over this incident, can we make it diplomatic at the same time forceful?
Yes.
Para naman kung nakikinig yung mga Chinese ngayon, we
We're disgusted.
are disgusted and we are offended by what you are doing to our troops in the West Philippine Sea. We should express that to them. Mr. President, palagay natin, hindi tayo pakinggan. Who are we? Pakinggan ba tayo ng China na napakalakas nila? But sana as a body, itong Senado ay magpalabas tayo ng sense of the Senate para malaman natin mga kababayan na ang Senado natin ay galit na sa ginagawa na pambubuli nitong mga tao na ito sa ating mga kababayan. Hindi na po, sige lang tayo nagtitimpi porque maliit tayo. We don't want war to happen. Ayaw natin maging war freak tayo, pero gusto lang natin talaga ipakita sa kanila, iparamdam sa ating mga kababayan na tayo punong-puno na sa pambubuli na ginagawa nitong mga Chinese na ito. So, kung nakikinig kayo ngayon, mga Chinese, galit na kami. To tell you frankly, we are mad with what you are doing to our troops. The simple bullying, I tell you, the simple bullying, and we cannot tolerate that act to happen again. I hope you're listening. I know you're listening right now. Listen to me. Listen to me. We are mad at you with what you're doing. We want to make it more diplomatic, at the same time, forceful para pakinggan ninyo kami.
Yes.
Respetuhan tayo dito.